So, I know what you might be thinking. I thought this game was dead. Well, yes, but then, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, the realm was reborn. Wait, wrong game. If you don't know, Blue Protocol Star Resonance is a renewed attempt at a long-awaited anime-style MMORPG. It's now changed hands from Bandai Namco to Shanghai Bokura Network Technology, which is partially funded by the Chinese titan Tencent. Thankfully, things are looking better for an actual global release this time around. I've gotten the privilege to play a bit of the closed beta this weekend, so I compiled what I learned to bring you a beginner's guide to Blue Protocol Star Resonance. To start, character creation is what you'd expect and want from an anime-style MMO. You have the option to choose your character's gender, their body size, and even some presets for those of you who want to jump right into the action. However, for those of you who enjoy the real MMO endgame, there's enough options, colors, and sliders to keep you occupied for a long time. Lastly, they also let you try on a variety of the game's outfits before tasking you with the biggest choice of all, your character's class. Now, it's important to note that you can technically play any class on the same character. However, there are some important caveats to this that I'll get to when I get to the character building section. Currently, there are 8 classes that are available in Star Resonance that are divided between the holy trinity of tank, DPS, and healer. Each class can also be further divided into 2 unique specializations that greatly alter their gameplay mechanics. For now, I'll start with a description of their intended playstyles with more in-depth guides coming out in the following days. So subscribe if you don't want to miss them. To start, we have the tank class Heavy Guardian. Their main stat is strength, and their specializations are the Stonewall style, which focuses on building up shields, or the block style, which, you guessed it, focuses on blocking and counterattacking enemies. Next we have the Shield Knight. Their main stat is also strength, and their specializations are the Bulwark style, which focuses on building a block and enhancing its self-healing capabilities, or the Radiant Guard style. Its description reads, it obtains defensive resources through rapid attacks. However, that's a bit of a misnomer. It'd be more accurate to say this is more of a solo-focused specialization that focuses on defense and less on healing. Moving on to the DPS, we have the Stormblade. This katana-wielding class uses agility as its main stat, and its specializations are Iato style, a burst damage playstyle that builds up Thunder Seal stacks with its abilities and then procs them for big damage. Or the Moonblade style, which focuses more on consistent damage by summoning rotating scythes to whittle down the enemies. Next we have the Wind Knight. This lance-wielding class uses strength as its main stat, and its specializations are Overdrive style, a grounded playstyle that has you focusing on rapid-fire attacks. Or the Aerial style, a very flashy playstyle that has you leaping into the air to come crashing down on the enemies. Next we have the Marksman. This archer class also uses agility as its main stat. Its specializations are the Beastmaster style, a consistent damage-focused playstyle that has you summoning wolves to do coordinated attacks. Or the Falconry style, a burstier playstyle that has you summoning, yes, falcons, for coordinated attacks when you crit. For the last DPS, we have the Frost Mage. This mage class uses intelligence as its main stat. Its specializations are the Frostland style, a playstyle that focuses on building up your class resource in order to enter a big DPS window to spam your ice meteors. Or the Ray style, a playstyle which has you building up your class resource to buff up your Ray skill. Dude, what is with these specialization names? Lastly, for the healers, we have the Verdant Oracle. This class uses intelligence as its main stat, and its specializations are the Thornlash style, a more DPS-focused playstyle that has you healing allies based off the damage you deal. Or the Healing style, a dedicated healing playstyle that also provides some party buffs. And lastly, we have the Soul Musician. This guitar bard class also uses intelligence as its main stat, and its specializations are the Frenzy style. Again, it's a more DPS-focused playstyle. Or the Symphony style, the more healing-oriented playstyle that also provides some powerful party buffs. So now that we have your character created, it's time to explore the world of Star Resonance. The game takes place in the continent of Magna, and exploration feels very similar to open-world style games like Breath of the Wild or Genshin Impact. You're free to parkour around the world looking for chests that contain items like the premium currency Rose Orbs. The open-world movement overall feels very fluid, and it expands as you level up, unlocking more traversal methods such as multiple jumps and gliding. Once you progress far enough into the story, you'll unlock the ability to enter the game's dungeons. The typical party composition for a dungeon is a 5-man party made up of 1 tank, 3 DPS, and 1 healer. However, later on you'll unlock the ability to enter more difficult 20-man raids as well. Furthermore, the difficulty levels for these dungeons are divided up by a gear score threshold that you'll have to meet before you're able to queue up. Now's a good time to talk about what combat feels like in Blue Protocol Star Resonance. Each class utilizes a left mouse click combo, a core skill, and an ultimate ability. You'll also have access to 4 more skills that will relate to the specialization you chose. Each class also has a form of a class resource that you'll need to manage in order to properly get the most out of your skills. Lastly, you'll have access to 2 Imagines. You can think of them almost like summon abilities. You use them, summon the Imagine, and then it casts a predetermined skill. As I previously mentioned, you can play every class on the same character, so when swapping classes, it's important to note that the following things transfer. Skill points. Wait, that's it? Yeah, so while it's relatively simple to swap classes after you complete the quest to do so, practically speaking, it can be a bit of a hassle to get each class up to snuff. This is because while you have your skill points for the skill trees, you also have to level up the skills that you use as well. There are two methods to upgrading your skills. One costs Bound Luna, which increases the skill damage by a flat amount, while the other uses skill books that increase the skill damage percentage. Obviously, both methods increase your damage a fair bit, and most importantly, directly impacts your gear score, which directly impacts your ability to queue up for those higher tier dungeons. Since these resources don't get refunded when you change classes, you can kind of bleed yourself dry when swapping around a lot. As such, it'd probably be wise to stick to one or two classes that you really like at most, before branching off. Moving on to your gear itself, you'll have access to 11 slots of gear, and they operate under a rarity system. The higher rarity stuff is typically better. As such, part of the gameplay loop will be running those higher and higher tier dungeons in order to 1. Get higher rarity gear, 2. Receive materials to upgrade that gear, but then also 3. Get gear that has the stat loadout that you actually want. The gear's stats are randomized between main stats and substats. Each class has a different main stat that they want, and then each specialization also wants different substats, such as crit or mastery. To keep it simple for this guide, if you see a thumbs up, the stat is at the very least beneficial for your class and specialization. Once you get the gear with the stats that you want, you also have ways to upgrade those gear pieces, and rejoice! There's no RNG chances of destruction. Once you get the gear that you want, you don't have to worry about trying to upgrade it and it blowing up or anything like that. Now, there are a few methods to upgrade your gear that you get: reforming, refining, and gems. Reforging your gear will cost equipment quality stones, and if you've played any kind of Hoyoverse game, this system should be relatively familiar to you. You'll spend the equipment quality stones to upgrade the stats on your gear while re-rolling one of the substats on that gear piece. After you've reached the maximum reforge level, you can keep spending the stones to continue re-rolling that substat. An important thing to note is that dismantling a piece of gear that you reforged will refund you your equipment quality stones, so you don't have to feel shy about engaging with this system. The second gear upgrading method, refining, will cost you smithing materials that you can get from lifeskilling, smithing orbs that you can only get through daily dungeons, and bound Luno. Alternatively, you can also use the auction house to get either material. As you progress through refinement levels, the success chance will lower. However, this can be offset by using gold and silver bars in order to maintain a 100% success rate. Lastly, you'll have gems that you can create through lifeskilling that can be inserted into your gear to provide more stats. However, once a gem is inserted, there is no way to retrieve it, so keep that in mind. I don't want to get too into the weeds in this beginner's guide, so for specifics on gearing, a great resource is a guide made by Chishiya that I'll link in the description. So where do we get the materials for gear and skill upgrades? Well, there are a variety of life skills in the game, such as gathering, mining, you name it. You'll have access to each life skill on a single character. However, you only have a limited number of daily stamina to allocate towards any given life skill. This is especially important as when you utilize your daily stamina on a life skill, you earn tradable materials, more materials in general, and more life skill experience towards that given skill. However, for all you hardcore life skill grinders, you can actually continue to life skill after you're out of stamina. You'll just receive character-bound materials instead of tradable ones and less experience. Leveling up your life skills unlocks recipes that don't require stamina, while every 300 stamina spent rewards you with the life skill token. These tokens can be spent to unlock upgrades towards any one of your life skills. Something to keep in mind is that one of the main ways you'll be leveling those life skills is through the weekly quest that will have you gathering a predetermined resource or buying it through the vendor for a healthy chunk of experience each week. Now, loosely tied to life skilling, you'll have leisure activities that are available to you as well, such as fishing and housing. I say they're loosely tied as some of the unlockable crafting recipes are for housing furniture, and you also have a garden that you can upkeep in your house as well. That about wraps it up here today for this beginner's guide. Obviously, there's a lot more depth to the systems that I touched on here today, but I wanted to at least provide an overview so you both know what you're getting into and could also start planning out how you want to play the game. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for some more in-depth guides coming for Blue Protocol Star residents over the next few weeks. You'll want to subscribe if you don't want to miss them. Let me know in the comments what you'd like me to shine a little more light on in my next videos, and or catch me live on twitch.tv/themusicbox, where I'll be streaming my experiences with the game. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and have a blessed day.